Everybody's always telling me, Sean, you need to take time off. You're working too much. Sean, you're going to burn yourself out. Now, fortunately, because of the type of work that I do, a lot of it really comes down to creation of content, which I can do from anywhere. And I've been thinking about, what do I really want to talk about today? There has been a trend of turnover at the senior executive level ranks in organizations. I started noticing this about 12 to 18 months or so ago. And so a lot of people have started coming to me, having conversations, trying to get feedback on, one, how do I get my foot in the door for the interview? But two, how do I successfully navigate the interview process? So I want to talk through a few tips and things that I have seen work really well for executives in my network and other people that we work with. The very first thing that I want you to focus on is you have to come prepared. Whenever you start applying and interviewing for roles at the senior executive levels, there is an expectation of you being able to come in and hit the ground running and solve their problems for them. They don't want to hire an executive that they're going to have to coddle and teach all the steps and show them how to do things. There's just an expectation. One of the things that you can do to highlight the fact that you are calm, collected, and confident and can hit the ground running is to do your research. Before the very first meeting with them, go look at their website, go connect with a lot of other executives on LinkedIn, research the type of content that they're creating, start understanding some of the macro backdrop issues and challenges that they might face in their industry. So if you're interviewing with an executive in oil and gas, obviously you want to know what are some of the drivers that could swing the price of oil. If you're looking in healthcare, you probably want to have some sort of insights into any sort of policies that have recently changed that could potentially impact how this business is running. When you're able to come in and have conversations and be armed with that knowledge, all of a sudden you start to stand out in a sea of mediocrity when you come in and you've done your research on the company and can ask specific and targeted questions that actually relate to the challenges that they are currently contending with. That is going to make you stand out. Which is a good segue for my next talking point. If you have done enough research, if you understand enough about the challenges that the business is facing, you should be able to solve their problems for them before they even ask. And what this might look like in the interview process is, hopefully there's going to be a dialogue, a good back and forth, and you actually broach a topic, something that you might have seen in terms of a press release on their website or some articles that have come out. And beyond just asking them questions about it, you actually pose the thought, well, have you guys thought about solving this by doing this thing? Would that work for you? So you're immediately solving their problems, or at least coming to the table with solutions that could potentially help them out. I get pushback on this because there are some companies that will go interview a whole bunch of candidates and ask them how they might solve their problems, and then they just take that knowledge and then go solve the problem. Okay, those are few and far between. I do not believe there's a lot of companies out there that are playing this game and wasting this much time and energy to try to solve their own problems. So don't go into it with that mindset. You need to go into it with the mindset of, how much value can I provide to these people that I'm meeting with? And if you provide enough value, all of a sudden they're going to want to bring you into the conversation. Another big question or topic that always comes up is, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about a challenge that you experienced. Look, we've all gone through issues and challenges in our professional career, and I encourage you to just be transparent about it. One of the biggest issues that I've ever had to contend with was an integration for a massive acquisition, and we had senior executives that were constantly butting heads. They couldn't get along, and I got sucked into the politics and the drama of all of it, and I had to figure out, how do I detach myself enough from all of the politics while still maintaining the trust in the relationships with all the parties involved? And then, how do I take all the knowledge that I'm getting from all of them and continue to move things forward? You share a story about challenges that you have endured and the lessons that you learned from it. And beyond that, how have you shared those lessons with even more people and more teams and more businesses? This highlights your ability to adapt, to evolve, to learn, to grow, and then beyond that, share that knowledge with as many people as possible. And when you come into it with that mindset, once again, they are going to start to view you through a different light. One of the biggest things that has always resonated with me is when you're in the interview process, there's always going to be this situation where the hiring manager is asking you questions, and then at the end, oh, Sean, do you have any questions for us? The game is already lost. You really need to be able to have a good back and forth dialogue. And when they ask you a question, you respond to it, you answer it, and then you pose them another question. Because if we start thinking about power dynamics that exist in any interaction, the person asking the questions is in a position of power. Lean into that. As you're going through the interview process, pose questions to them, and it has to be the right questions. You can't ask, oh, well, what are you doing with this data set here? No, that's too low level. You need to start thinking about bigger questions, bigger challenges. I noticed you guys just acquired another business in the Permian. How does that play into your long-term strategic goals for the organization? If you're hiring or being hired for a director level role and you're asking questions about long-term strategic vision and plays for the organization, once again, it's going to elevate your status. So start thinking about, what are some of these high-level executive type questions? What are the conversations that executives are having? And if you don't know what questions to ask, go have conversations with friends or colleagues that are executives and tell them, hey, I'm going to interview for this CIO type role. I've never been a CIO before. I've been a vice president. I've been a director for a long period of time. What are the types of questions that I should be asking them? The last thing that I want to leave you with is to do not close the interview or the conversation with any sort of ambiguity. You want to be very clear. Express your interest in continuing through this process. Asking them what the next steps are. Getting a better sense of what the interview process looks like from here on out. Now, you can't come at this from a place of desperation because they will pick up on it. But if you are genuinely interested in the role and there's a good exchange of energy and you're feeling really good about it, you can share that with them. Like, hey, I really enjoyed this conversation. Can you talk me through what the next steps are? Where do we go from here? And when you do that, don't let them off with, oh, well, I don't know, maybe we'll figure something out type of thing. Oh, okay, cool. Well, how about I just reach out to you in about a week and we'll figure out where do we go from there. Does that sound okay? Now, all of a sudden, you are stepping up, you are driving things forward, and again, this is going to show initiative on your part. So a few things that just kind of came to mind for me recently If any of you have any other questions or challenges that you are experiencing as it relates to interviewing for these executive level roles, leave a comment down below and I'll shoot some content for you guys. All right? Well, I think I'm gonna go for a run or something to try to enjoy this beautiful weather on the beach.